Trigger press. There's a lot of schools of thought on how a human finger should engage a mechanical trigger. One of the things I strongly suggest is finding a sweet spot, but there are some do's and don'ts. When we're looking at the finger, we have different joints. We have our base joint, our middle joint, and our end joint. The end joint is where all the contact comes into play. And usually you want to go in the middle. You don't want to go too far to the tip or too far to the joint itself that mates it to the second bone. So you want it right in the center. Now there may be a little leeway, literally 2-3 millimeters in either direction, that works for you best. And that's something that you're going to have to practice and discover. So when we actually engage that trigger, we're coming in halfway on the face and pressing. We don't pull, hold, squeeze. We press the trigger. And the whole idea for pressing the trigger is the synapses and information that we send to brain waves. When we pull, we think about pulling. Now, if you notice movement, the gun is pulling off to the side. Well, that will translate to you either missing your target or definitely missing your point of impact. When we go to push or squeeze the trigger, in some cases, it'll push over the other side because that's what we're doing. We're not aligning the proper part of our finger, and at the same time, we're not thinking of the proper words. And that's why we actually think press. Because when we press, it's like pressing a button. We pull straight back. Status checks. Status checks are important because sometimes we forget, especially in volatile situations where adrenaline's pumping through us. We don't exactly recall. Memory is usually the first thing that fleets from us. So understanding if we have a round in the chamber or not when we go back to holster or we enter into any kind of situation that we want this weapon safe, it's good to do a press check or safety check. This can be done a lot of ways. I've seen a lot of people come over on the face of a gun and pull it back a little bit just to see that there is a little bit of brass exposing, and indeed there's a live round in there. I like my fingers, so I don't like putting my fingers up near the muzzle. Just not safe in any fashion or way. I've seen people actually come back on the slide, and this is pretty good. You know, if it's something where you're a little bit more comfortable with guns, it's something I'd be willing to try. But in a situation where you're just beginning, one of the best ways to do it, obviously muzzle in a safe direction and a slight pull back on the slide. Your slide will have serrations, and that's exactly why they're there. So you can do a safety check. Now, when you have a malfunction, if you look in here, you'll be able to see how we have one round that did not extract and another round that's trying to feed in. This is commonly caused from shooting what we call limp-wristed, not putting enough strength in your grip. How you clear this is you'll basically engage the magazine release while you rip the magazine out. Now that's going to either eject one of the rounds or load one. You'll have to do a press check or safety check to visually verify. And at that point, magazine goes right back in, you're right back in the fight. So remember, when you have a malfunction like that, come over the top, grab those serrations and rip it back. I suggest doing it multiple times just to make sure that your pathways are clear and you're ready to get back in the fight without further malfunction.